Hey guys, so today we're going to look at the third lesson on flams. In the previous two lessons, we looked at first the fundamentals, the basics on the motion that you go through, some very basic exercises, things to kind of start to build you up into it. And the second lesson, we then started to incorporate flams into beats. Today, of course, we're going to start to incorporate flams into fills. Now, if you haven't looked at those two other videos yet, those other two lessons, please make sure you go through those first. The links to those are going to be in the description below, because going through those is definitely going to build you up to be able to do the lesson today. Once we're done with these lessons today, you should be able to, jazz up your rock fills with some flams, give it a little bit more life, give it a little bit more variety. And after this, you should be able to take this to anywhere you want to go. Okay, so let's get started. For today's lesson, everything's going to be structured around two different feels, two different types of beats that we're going to have. We're going to build up on the first one, and then we'll switch over and build up on the second one. For this first set of exercises, we're going to do entirely left-handed flams. Later on, we're going to switch and do right-handed flams on the second set. And again, just as a reminder, when I say a left-handed flam, I'm saying that the left hand is going to make a full motion, and it's going to hit on the beat. Right hand is going to not go up quite as high. It's going to land just before the beat. Now on this first exercise, you'll see that it's set up as two measures. The first measure is just the beat. It's to set up the feel. And then the second measure, we have the fill at the end. And you'll see that we're doing something actually similar to what we set up in the previous video, in the flams in a beat video, where I'm doing a flam, and then following that, it's the bass drum and hi-hat together. So we're kind of doing flam and then bass hi-hat. Now to keep the chart a little bit simpler, I don't have all the right and left hand notation called out here. But once I get to the fill section, and this will be true for all of the exercises today, the fill section does call out the hand pattern. So while that first exercise we're doing, while it's technically a fill at the end, it's not all that interesting, right? Everything that we're doing for the fill is the same instruments that we're playing for the beat. So let's move things around a little bit now. We're gonna switch the flam up to tom 1. And instead of playing the bass drum into the hi-hat, we're gonna play into the splash cymbal right here. If you don't have a splash, then that's cool. You can just play on a crash. You can transpose it to anything that you want. All right, so now we're going to really make things interesting for this third exercise. So remember, we just moved the Flam up to the tom, and we moved that, that right hand that goes with the bass drum to the splash. Well, now we're going to start to move things around the drum set as we play it. So we got 3 Flams. I'm going to do Flams on tom 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to move it around as I play. Also, same thing, instead of keeping on the splash, now I'm going to do the crashes, and I'm going to move around the crashes too. So it's going to be Flam 1 here, and then the right hand is going to hit the crash, and then Flam on tom 2, crash, tom 3, crash. One last thing that's really interesting about this fill is that I'm not going to be keeping the 2 hands together, right? I'm not going to be going down the toms with both hands. I'm actually going to keep one hand on the snare, and the other hand's going to be on the tom. So I'm going to be doing the Flam between 2 different instruments. All right, so let's change things up a little bit. We're gonna go with a completely different feel now, and you'll see we actually have some double bass going on here. As I mentioned earlier, this is the point where we're gonna switch from doing the left-handed Flam to right-handed Flam. So now the right hand is gonna do the full motion, land on the beat. Left hand is gonna do a partial motion and land just before the beat. Again, we're doing a 2-measure phrase here. So the first measure is gonna set up the feel, and then at the end of the second measure, that's where we have the fill. Okay, so for the 5th exercise, again, we're going to be building on what we just did. This time we're actually going to do a fill at the end of each measure. So we're going to do Flam on the snare to tom 1 on the first measure, and then snare to tom 3 on the second measure. Okay, so for exercise 6, we're going to do something a little similar to what we had done back on exercise 3. We're going to work our way around the kit as part of the fill. So we're actually going to do a flam every half measure. And we're going to do them snare, tom 1, tom 2, tom 3. This time we're actually going to keep the hands together as we're moving around instead of separating them. Also, we're going to throw in just an extra snare hit on the ah of the same beat, just to kind of, throw off the feel a little bit. Okay, so for this last exercise, we're going to actually flip things around quite a bit. We're going to reduce this down to just one measure instead of being two like the others. And we're going to start with the hands. We're going to start with the snare, a flam on the snare. And we're going to move the hand pattern around. We're going to go snare, tom 1, tom 2. And we're going to have some double bass in between those. So I hope that gets you going on using the basics of flams in your fills. As I mentioned earlier, I also have videos out for using flams in your beats, or even the basics, the fundamentals of flams and how to approach them. So if you're interested in those, you'll find the links to them in the description below. I also have lots of other videos coming out as well, more lesson videos and gear review videos and all sorts of other stuff. So if you don't want to miss out, then don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, peace.